What are emotions? Welcome to Philosopher's Corner. I'm John. What are emotions? We all have them. They seem to be a built-in feature of the human experience, and they seem to be other beings have them too, animals and whatnot. But today we'll try to talk it out and figure out what are emotions. I mean, up front, what's the process of emotions, right? Like biologically, we have a stimuli hit our body, some event, something happens and creates a biological response to that stimuli, and then that biological response goes up through our system, affects our thoughts, affects our biochemistry, and all of a sudden we feel a certain way. We have an emotion, an energy, right? So in a way, like emotions, they're energy in motion. We have this energetic field around us, and our senses and our thoughts combine to give us this thing that we call an emotion. Which we feel. We feel the emotion. It's sort of the end result of our whole person reaction to a stimuli, whatever that is. It could be a person, a mood, an event, an object, something touching us, something that we think about, something that is told to us, like information given to us, can make our emotion change. If I'm sitting here, peaceably, like that's an emotion. And then if something comes in that makes me like react, like, oh, now my emotion, that shift in the energy from peaceful to that's an energy shift. And that energy that's expressed there is the emotion. So what is it? Like a lot of people I've read up through the ages, all the way in classical philosophy, they describe emotion for sort of the symptoms and how it feels of like combination of thought and emotion, or thought and feeling, and they sort of mix into a mood, which can also affect your state of mind. They can say like, well, an emotion is a state of mind. I think state of mind is part of an emotion. I think emotion is actually the energy is generated in the field. But classical philosophers were more thinking, what does it mean in terms of intellectualism? What does it mean in terms of, is it a strictly biological response? Because then some would say, well, it seems like it's clear that for some emotions, intent is involved. Like the nature of the intention of the stimuli also changes the mood. So like, it's one thing if somebody gets hit by a ball, they have a certain emotion that reacts to it. But if somebody who they knew was like stalking them showed up with a ball and then threw the ball in an attempt with like malicious intent to really harm, and that was communicated in the body language, in the context of the moment, and the energy they put onto that ball, and then now that ball hits you, your emotion is going to be different than the first case where there was no real intention on it. It's just sort of a more random experience with less emotional and intentional energy on it. And then as opposed to case B, where it's very definite, very focused, and very intentional to try to elicit like a hurt emotion or to cause damage, then that emotion is different. Even if on the surface the two events existentially seem the same, basically, or even if like we revise the first case to be, that it's a guy but he's not mad at you, you still get a different emotion that comes out of it, which to me is evidence that an emotion is not a mere intellectual exercise or irrational feeling. In fact, I think it's the most valuable state of communication of language, because it's an electromagnetic energy that is in your field, that is your field, it becomes your field for those moments. And that is what the person's reactions are, like, like expressing so much of what's in the electromagnetic field at that moment, it's a shift in the moment, because that's the field where we absorb our energy that then gets fed into our different bodies, not just our biological body, but our light body and our chakras and all these other things, which are valid. They're absolutely as valid as the normal psychological reactions and all the other stuff. So in that moment when our field is like absorbing that information, the intention, the probability of us being injured, like on all levels, not just like biological, but like if they're trying to cause psychological harm or emotional harm or astral harm or whatever harm, all the information gets absorbed in that attack or in that moment of malintention. It's like, whoa. And then like it creates that sort of hole in the field, and then the emotion is reacting to it and absorbing it, and da 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 da. So in that sense, it's the sort of the most refined form of the communication, because it packs so much into it. It packs everything. That's where the rubber meets the road, is in that electromagnetic field, because that houses all the contextual data and the soul data and all the stuff you can't really articulate or intellectualize. And it doesn't matter who the person is, because whether that person's educated or not educated or super smart or not smart, or their awareness is like at a certain level, doesn't really matter, because their field, everybody's fields, that's a great equalizer, because your field is your field. And like whatever is your electromagnetic resonance of your emotional field that's in there that you're emanating, and you're constantly, that's you, because that also includes your soul resonation, all your emotional chakras, your biological, all the things are in it, that's communicating constantly, truly. And that's also, from what I've seen, that's the clearest communication of in your sphere that you're creating, in your circle. That's what's constantly emanating out as a sort of electromagnetic antenna resonator to life itself, which does generate the life experiences. It's a reflexive property that way. Like that's what's creating the reality, is your electromagnetic sphere of your emotional energy, which is comprised of all its energy and motion, and it's the energy that's going through your whole system that floods your own field, and that's what's resonating out. And so, and all the reactions, all the emotional reactions, are the reactions to the other energies interacting with those, and that's what informs our field. It's what informs our decisions, our flow makings, and all our life navigation. Um, and you build those up. You build up your field through moral choices one at a time, and then your moral choices become your ethical system, your ethics, your moral systems to your ethics, and then your ethics go up to your state of your consciousness, and your state of consciousness allows you to have self-awareness and free will, and fill up your emotional field. And then when you can center your emotion, then you can absorb and you can accept things and you can navigate and you have clarity. Like really, when you can center your emotional field, once you've gone through that process, that full lengthy process of activating free will and becoming self-aware of it, and you get centered in your emotional discipline, becomes your navigation device through life, really. Like how you learn you don't have to be reacting to things. That's just typically how we start to learn about our emotions, because there's like, oh, that didn't feel good, why, da, 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 da. Differential analysis of like what entered my field and what my field is calibrated to, especially if you can calibrate it to universal frequency, which is good. That's what you keep clear, and then you can know what's coming in and out, and then you can navigate and you get information that way, and that unlocks other abilities. And yeah, it's all achieved through emotional discipline. So emotional discipline ends up being the way to sort of like the control panel of your life, like how to fly your life, so to say, how to balance it and keep it good and keep it centered. So it's with the emotions. So yeah, emotions, maybe the most important sensual, informational, like sensual in terms of your most important sense, and greatest, truest level of information exchange language in the experience. Maybe. Well, thanks for spending some time here at Philosopher's Corner. I hope you have a good day.